Public School Board is now in session. We are in our formal meeting format, and I'd ask my colleagues to indicate their presence on the voting pad. And for the record, Mrs. Weems would be with us, except she has an illness that is keeping her away. Might show up later tonight, but probably not. This time, if you join with me in a moment of silence as we contemplate our evening's business. Please rise as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now proceed with our public awards and recognition. Mrs. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first honoree is the 2016 recipient of the Virginia Association for the Gifted Outstanding Student Award. Please join the school board in welcoming Andrew Strasburger, a rising 7th grade student at Brickell Academy at Old Nation School. Candidates for this award had to demonstrate an activity or interest area that fulfilled a need or solved a problem, had an impact, and affected the nominee's future goals. Andrew has not only distinguished himself academically and participates in many school activities. His model design of a garden for the new school currently under construction was ultimately used by the contracted engineers. Andrew describes it best. This involved researching different problems and solutions, which helped engineers build the garden and combine all ideas to fit the standards. For Andrew, it expanded his career choices to include landscape architecture, archaeology, journalism, or writing and science careers. Well done, Andrew, and congratulations as Virginia's 2016 Outstanding Gifted Student.
Next, the school board is pleased to welcome 4 students who won national honors for their proposals to address global challenges. Please join me in welcoming Plaza Middle School 8th grade students Samantha Guerriere, Leilani Hyatt, and Kayla McPherson. Participating in the World of 7 Billion nationwide contest, students were asked to research and create a 60-second video that highlights one of 3 global challenges that affect the world's population. Samantha and Reese competed in the water scarcity category and won 2nd place as a team for their video called The More, the Less. Their video addresses trash that pollutes the world's oceans and offers recycling and oyster, yes, oyster, solutions since oysters are natural water purifiers. As the video states, the more help, the less pollution. Meanwhile, Leilani and Kayla also won 2nd place. They won in the public health category for their One Small Step video, highlighting how hygiene and sanitation education can help with preventable diseases. As the video states, it's one small step for sanitation, but one large step for making the world a better place. Well said. Congratulations and thank you for making a difference.
Our next honoree is Kinley Johnson, recently graduated senior from Salem High School. In May, Kinley competed in the Congressional Institute's nationwide high school visual arts competition. Students submitted entries to their local representative's office, and local artists select the winning entries. Out of 77 entries, Kinley won 1st place in the 2nd Congressional District. Her artwork found beauty in an uncommon place: weeds. Her piece and that of other winners will be displayed at the U.S. Capitol for 1 year. Congratulations, Kinley.
the Educators Rising National Conference winners. In May, we recognized high school students who were winners in the Educators Rising state competition for aspiring teachers. Those students went on to compete at the Nationals this summer, and they returned home with a second-place team win. Since the students are unable to join us this evening, Ocean Lakes principal Dr. Claire LeBlanc is accepting on their behalf. The team from Ocean Lakes Rising Seniors were Natalie Hackman and Kylie Schoolcraft, and the class of 2016 seniors, Harry Hudome and Jasmine Clanton. They created an uplifting recruitment video about the difference the teachers make in the lives of their students. We congratulate them on this national award.
This has been a season of notoriety for our gifted teachers, and if I could go off script for just a moment, I want to remind my colleagues that the Gifted Education Advisory Committee in June, with their annual report, shared with us that 3 of the top 10 Virginia Beach Teacher Finalists of the Year were gifted teachers. But now to the honoree at hand. Our final recognition circles back to our first one. Please join me in welcoming the 2016 Outstanding Teacher of the Gifted for Region 2, Melissa Sullivan from First Colonial High School. She is joined by her principal, Dr. Nancy Farrell. What's shocking is that Melissa almost didn't become a teacher. Her dream was to become a flight attendant. We're glad she changed her mind because in her 26 years of education, she has made an impact. Principal Nancy Farrell states that Melissa has demonstrated that she's knowledgeable when it comes to innovative implementation of curriculum. She observes teachers for the purpose of assisting them to respond to students' needs through differentiation. She also supports the administration by providing training and bringing current educational initiatives. Whether it be helping the school tightly cluster more than 260 gifted students, or by capturing students' interests in curriculum by relating it to real-life application, Ms. Sullivan makes a difference. Such was the case for one student who wasn't interested in math, but who loves baseball. Ms. Sullivan not only shared how sabermetrics is used to evaluate and compare player performance, she also arranged for the student to present his authentic research before college baseball coaches. His interest in math was renewed. It's differences like these why it's easy to see that she's 2016 Outstanding Teacher of the Gifted for Region 2. Congratulations. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes our recognition for the evening.
You ready to go? Dr. Spence, at this time, we look forward to receiving the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I know this is a little hard to believe, but the start of school is just 3 weeks from today. And as such, division employees are working hard to make sure things are in place when our students return. Craftsmen from school plan are making final repairs. The warehouse at Distribution Services, as you might imagine, is in a flurry of activity. Custodial services personnel are ensuring that our facilities are sparkling, but they are not the only ones who are getting ready. Next week, we will welcome approximately 400 new teachers at Tockley, which is the Teacher Orientation and Continuous Learning Institute. That's going to be held at Tallwood High School. This is a 4-day event that features guest speakers, interactive sessions, and other opportunities to help integrate new teachers and those who are new to Virginia Beach into our teaching community. Instrumental at Tockley is the Department of Professional Growth and Innovation, whose role is really to aid in leadership development, career advancement, and perhaps most importantly, provide our new employees with support. So this week, our featured Compass Keeper specializes in working with our new teachers and shares the importance of the division's efforts to support them. Let's meet Bevan Reinen.
Hockley is basically the big warm welcome that we provide to new teachers that are brand new to the profession, but also those who are transferring in from other divisions. And we bring them all together for a week long, and it's a great time to really give them an idea of Compass to 2020 and various curriculum things that they need to know in order to start the year on the right foot. Truly, that first year of teaching is extremely challenging. I can remember my first year of teaching, which was extremely challenging, and really we want to provide them the support that they need because, I mean, it will follow them for the rest of their careers. We really want to do a good job of laying that foundation for them. We continuously provide different types of trainings to new teachers. We have a new teacher mentoring program, and that program basically ensures that every new teacher that has 0 years of experience or those that are provisionally licensed have a mentor to provide them support throughout the year. This year, the Office of Professional Growth and Innovation brought together a teacher mentor advisory group, and this group consisted of 5 different lead mentors. We had elementary, middle, and high school representation, and our goal was basically to come together to really try to revamp our program, and these teachers were so helpful in helping our office make sure that our program is up to date, providing the best kind of support that we can provide. We leverage teacher voice, and truly teachers should be involved in all the decisions that we make, and their voice was definitely in the different modifications that we've made to our program. We want to retain our best teachers, and we also want to make sure that every single student has a high-quality teacher so that they could reach their fullest potential as well.
Well, as you all can imagine, the Teacher Mentor Program does help our new teachers become acclimated to our school by pairing them with seasoned educators. This year, more than 200 active mentor teachers will be coaching, guiding, and encouraging our new mentees to reach their full potential. It is this collaboration between seasoned teacher and new that's really a great example of one of our core values that says that we do great work together. By working together, these teachers build partnerships that benefit the school, the students, and our community. This evening, I'm pleased to note that we are joined by Bevan. Along with her are Dr. Thomas Farrell, who is the Director of Administrative Learning and Leadership, and also Dr. Paulette France, who is a Professional Learning Coordinator, all of them serving the Office of Professional Growth and Innovation. Would the three of you just stand up so we can say thank you? I want to thank you all, and Bevan, you specifically, for the other, along with all the other professional learning specialists, for everything that you do to provide support for our teachers and for our leaders, both experienced and new, as we grow in this school division together. As always, this Compass Keeper video will be posted on the homepage of vbschools.com, and you can read about additional members of the Compass Keepers Club on the division's news blog, The Core. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Spence. Madam Clerk, we have speakers on agenda item?
No, sir.
Okay. Right on into approval of the minutes of our August 2nd meeting. Chair will entertain a motion for approval. Motion, Mr. McDonald, second, Mrs. Rye. Voting board is open. The minutes stand approved. In adopting the agenda, there are no changes to the proposed to the agenda which was distributed in advance. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt. Motion, Mrs. Holtz. Second, Mrs. Rye. Voting board is open. The agenda is adopted. We only have one item on the consent agenda. It is the approval of 4 religious exemptions, which were provided to the board in advance for review. Chair will entertain a motion to approve. Motion, Mrs. Taylor. Second, Mrs. Felton. Voting board is open. The religious exemptions provided, all 4 of them are approved. The action agenda has but one item, the personnel report, which tonight includes 1 administrative appointment. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report. Motion, Mrs. Milnick. Second by Mrs. McLeod. Door is open. The personnel report is approved, and Dr. Spence, if you would introduce the administrative appointee.
I will, thank you. If I could ask John Challenge to please stand. Some of you will recognize John. He has served with distinction in the division as both a teacher, administrative assistant, and assistant principal, most recently at Great Neck Middle School. And this evening, I'm pleased to note that you have approved our recommendation for him to serve as the principal at Point of View Elementary School. Congratulations, John. And I think you have some guests here who I know some of us are going to recognize. Would you mind introducing your guests?
First and foremost, the crying lady of all, my youngest twin, Carter, her 1 minute older sister out there. My wife, Annie, has joined me along with my parents, Tommy and Ann. And my mother-in-law really started tonight because she's out there.
She's out in the hallway. Outstanding.
Happy to have them here today.
Well, you all have to stand up so we can say thank you as well. Appreciate you being here. And Tom, you look a lot more tan than you did before you retired. I just want to say that. Congratulations again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have 2 items on the information agenda. The first is our program evaluation schedule for 2016-17. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Edwards, Vice Chair Anderson, members of the school board, and Dr. Spence. I'm Heidi Janecki, Director of Research and Evaluation from the Department of Planning, Innovation, and Accountability. This evening, I will share the proposed schedule of program evaluations that will be conducted during 2016-2017 based on School Board Policy 6-26. Before presenting the evaluation schedule for the upcoming year, I'll provide a brief review of the evaluation reports that will be provided this fall based on last year's schedule. The reports that will be provided to the school board this year based on the 2015-2016 program evaluation schedule are shown on the slide. Most of the reports will be provided to the school board this fall, beginning with the Bayside 6th grade campus comprehensive evaluation. Please note that the Achievable Dream Academy update has been added to the list after a meeting with the program directors and a review of the external evaluation conducted by the College of William & Mary during its first year. The update will focus on data from the program's second year. At this time, the proposed 2016-2017 program evaluation schedule will be presented, including the process for selecting programs. Programs scheduled for review include both the evaluations that have been previously scheduled and new additions to the schedule based on school board policy. The proposed evaluation schedule for the upcoming 2016-2017 school year will require school board approval. As a brief review, school board policy outlines the evaluation requirements for new and existing programs. New programs that operate with local resources will be evaluated for a minimum of 2 years and then during the final year of implementation. In addition, the Program Evaluation Committee reviews existing programs for possible addition to the schedule as space allows. The committee includes representatives from various departments and schools, the Virginia Beach Education Association, and the community. This year, the committee was contacted via email to recommend potential programs should space be available. Next, the proposed evaluation schedule is shared with the superintendent and senior staff to obtain feedback regarding the final recommendations. And finally, the Office of Research and Evaluation staff determine the type of evaluation that will be conducted for each program on the schedule. This slide presents the proposed program evaluation schedule for 2016-2017. The 4 programs listed represent previously planned evaluations or updates on longitudinal studies already in progress. The final comprehensive evaluation of Green Run Collegiate is scheduled because 2016-2017 will be its year of full implementation as the first group of students moves into 12th grade. The Digital Learning Anchor Schools evaluation will continue in its second year. The school counseling program evaluation readiness process is currently being completed, and the first year of a 3-year evaluation plan is anticipated for 2016-2017. Finally, the annual longitudinal study update for the Academy and Advanced Academic Programs will also be completed. 2 new additions are included on the evaluation schedule. The first addition is the new Academy at Kempsville High School. Because this is a new program, it is scheduled for evaluation during its first year of operation. The second proposed addition is the Achievable Dream Academy at SeaTac Elementary School. The comprehensive evaluation in 2016-2017 will build on the data analyzed by the College of William & Mary during its first year and data that are currently being analyzed internally from the program's second year. In addition, next year, students from 2 additional schools, Bird Neck and Lynn Haven, will be eligible to attend the program at SeaTac. Although not included on the program evaluation schedule, the Office of Research and Evaluation also plans to be involved in the evaluation of the high school program Innovation Planning Grant during 2016-2017 as planning for the program is underway. And this concludes the presentation of the program evaluation schedule for the upcoming school year, and I'm available for any questions.
Mrs. McLeod.
Thank you very much for sharing all those with us. I would like just to not to hit you up later with what my questions are going to be. For the school counseling K through 12, I'm going to be very interested in the guidance part of it. I mean, there's the counseling that we do a little bit more of. I just want to make clarification on when it says school counseling, we mean guidance counseling. But specifically, I'm going to be very interested in what our guidance counselors are doing in the high schools and getting students either career ready or college ready or vocational ready. So I thought I would just tell you that now, okay. Because those are the questions I'm going to be having.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Bry.
Yes, to add to Mrs. McLeod's comment, the high school counseling, I'll go a step further. Actual college counseling, like for the kids who know they're going to college.
Okay.
To help decide where.
Okay. We're in the planning phases, so I will take those comments into account.
Mrs. Holtz.
I'm assuming when you're evaluating all these programs, because they're so different, you're going to be looking at how they're either working toward a goal or how they achieve their goal. Would we be able to see the kind of questions that you're asking? I'd be very curious about that. Is that listed somewhere?
The evaluation questions are all included in the evaluation reports, and generally our presentations when we come in the fall and present the presentations are organized by those evaluation questions. So typically we always have a question focused on how the programs are being implemented and the different aspects of implementation, the students who are involved in the program, their characteristics, the progress made towards meeting goals and objectives is included, stakeholders' perceptions, and also cost of the program. So those are our main areas that we address in all of the evaluations.
So ultimately at the end we will see those?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions, Mr. McDonald?
It sort of leads to a question I've been waiting to ask. Is there an appropriate procedure for us to ask questions to be included in evaluations that you carry out?
I believe that would be through the superintendent or Dr. Donald Robertson, and we would get that feedback. And we can incorporate it in the planning phases, or if we're in the evaluation process, we can look at adding information about those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tinko.
You had cited School Board Policy 6-26, which provides 7 different factors that that you would be conducting your evaluation. One of them is program cost. Your evaluation is critical because we have scarce number of precious dollars that we have to work with. And among the schools that you're planning to evaluate, a couple of them have an independent means of funding. One of them being Green Rank Collegiate, the other one being an Achievable Dream Academy. How would those 2 schools, independent of other school evaluations programs, differ when compared to schools that, say, don't have an independent governing board or as an Achievable Dream Academy, a quote-unquote wraparound?
The evaluation questions that we address are similar, regardless of funding source, but in the evaluation question focused on cost, we take into account if there's external funding. We include that information in the evaluation, and we make sure that that is a separate piece of information in addition to what the school division, the funding from the school division looks like.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The second and final item on information are the proposed revisions to policy 6-72, the student evaluation and grading, which the board's been working on for quite some time, including a workshop 2 weeks ago, significant interaction with the public over the spring months and discussion at our board retreat in July. Anybody have any comments or questions? I'm certain that staff is prepared to respond to them if we have any.
Will this not be read out loud for the viewing public? Because it's on
Well,
information.
It was
This is
included
there.
in the agenda package. I mean, I'm not sure reading the.
Okay, I'm just
don't
asking.
Typically read it.
Usually
as I say,
Cammie does present them.
But, well, right, and Dr. Bergen is here to respond
Yeah.
to questions, which is typically what we do. Do you want to, Dr. Bergen, do you have any kind of a brief explanation you want to provide?
No more of an introduction than you've already provided, Mr. Edwards. Grading, the proposed changes to this policy, the board is very familiar with after several workshops and numerous engagement sessions in the community, town hall meetings, teacher surveys. I'd be happy to read it aloud if that's what.
I don't think that's going to provide a value added. Ms. McLeod, do you have any specific portions that you'd like to throw out for discussion?
No, it's specifically because this is the opportunity for the viewing public to see if they don't have a copy of this and they happen to be watching at home, it would be appropriate for them to hear what the changes are if they haven't watched any previous workshops. That's my point. And so usually Ms. Linetti will go and read through and just because it is information, we vote next time. But so that's the why. So if the whole board feels this is a waste of time, I'll just say that I think it should be read.
I mean, I'd recommend you go ahead and just talk about the changes.
Sure. So the most significant change was the addition of some language that would ask that the superintendent develop to flesh out how the superintendent will develop and implement a uniform procedure for evaluating student progress. So the policy, the insertion is beyond that sentence, is that the superintendent shall be responsible for developing and implementing a uniform procedure for evaluating student progress. And here's the insert. Across the school division, each school by grade level, department, or specialized course shall develop and submit grading expectations for approval by the Department of School Leadership. Further, the superintendent will establish regulations describing procedures for such approval that are consistent with this policy, administrative grading guidelines, and law. And approved grading expectations will initially become effective for the 17-18 school year and thereafter reviewed and approved annually. So this is new language. Previously, teachers were not asked by policy to have common expectations as to how they would evaluate students and report that progress to parents. This change to policy and the regulation to which it references asks teachers by groups, either by grade level or by department or by specialized course, to meet with one another and find agreement as to what their grading expectations will be for their grade level, for their department, for their specialized course. And that whatever those expectations are must be consistent with the published guidelines from the superintendent and the Department of School Leadership. Once teachers have developed those expectations, they would capture those in writing. Those would then be reviewed by the leadership in the school, which is typically the department chairs or the team leaders that work with the principal. Again, to ensure that the expectations teachers have set forth are consistent with the guidelines and abide by policy and law. Then the members of the school improvement team would meet and would also review those guidelines, again, to ensure consistency between grade levels, departments, or specialized course, and to make sure that they're consistent with our guidelines. After they've been thoroughly vetted at the teacher level and the school level, they would then come to the office, the Department of School Leadership, or the appropriate executive director, elementary, middle, or high, to verify that that process has occurred, those expectations were indeed created at the teacher level, and were vetted thoroughly by the school leadership. Does that address your concern, Ms. McLeod?
Mr. Bergen, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. It wasn't a long meeting, so I think it was well worth it.
You're very welcome. With us tonight, if there are any additional questions, you're all very familiar with Mrs. Woodhouse, who chaired the Fair and Equitable Grading Task Force. She's here to answer any questions you may have. I'd also like to recognize Mrs. Linetti is away on vacation, so we have Rod Ingram, Deputy City Attorney, is here. If you have any questions about legal sufficiency, I'll answer for you.
Any comments? Mr. McDonald?
Thank you. In reading the policy, uniform procedure, is that interpreted as the grading guidelines document that's published by the school division?
I would interpret that as the regulation and the guidelines working together in concert.
Okay. And specific to the changes, a couple of concerns that have been brought to me about this. The first concern is, while the conversation at the grade level and department level is really important to go into those guidelines and have that conversation about grading expectations, there is a concern about the amount of time this process may take. And I understand that regulation hasn't necessarily been put in place in response to the policy that we haven't passed yet. But do we have an idea of what instruments, timetables that this will take? There is some concern that this is going to be a bit of a lift, and administrators and teachers already have a lot on their plates. So while not sacrificing the conversation that we think is important, is there a shared concern? Do we have a way or an idea of how much time this might take a school to go through this process?
Well, it's a relatively new conversation. So I think part of this is going to have to be monitoring over the course of the year. How real is that concern, and trying, because folks haven't gone through that.
Correct.
So how real is that? We are working with Docile to develop some templates that they can use, some guiding questions that they can use to help work through the guidelines more quickly. And we've just, even at the admin conference, had a meeting with our administrators to begin talking about the process that we would use and ask them to lead in their buildings. I think it's going to be a feeling out during the first year of how does that conversation go, where are there tweaks that we might need to offer in terms of support, or what other resources might the schools need in order to carry out those conversations.
Thank you. Another concern that was brought to me was that teacher intentions that were decided at the grade level and department level may not be reflected in the final document administration gives to Docile. If teachers at the department or grade level feel like that's the case, what is the remedy for that?
In that case, they would work directly with their director or executive director, and they would be able to express those concerns, maybe show the differences, and then that would be an opportunity for a conversation between the Department of School Leadership and the principal and the teachers who did develop that work.
Okay. And then a final question, at least for this round. Is it typical for school boards not to directly approve grading guidelines?
Right. So what's typical is to establish policy, review regulations, and in this instance, review guidelines, which is fine, but typically it's policy that's approved by the board. And so if you think about how things work across the division, if you were to try to, if you were to establish a precedent of wanting to review and approve and wordsmith guidelines, I mean, think about the procurement guidelines that we have, the business services manuals that we have, and a lot of the other guidelines that we put in place that are operational. Here's how we're going to operationalize these policies. I don't know that I've ever worked in a school division where boards would get into that level of administrative detail. But I think it's fair to say that we've spent quite a bit of time with the board reviewing these guidelines and seeking input, not just from from you all, but incorporating input that we received through the whole process into those guidelines and then sharing how that was incorporated. So it's not done in isolation, sitting in a kind of back closet. I mean, I think that was a pretty transparent conversation about those guidelines.
Absolutely, and I think that's been pretty clear. Thank you.
Mrs. Rye?
Yes, thank you. Yes, one example of that input, I just wanted to comment on the language concerning specialized course to let the public know, and any AP and IB teachers out there, that this speaks to them, and the recognition that, you know, within, for example, an English department, AP English teachers may feel their students, you know, just a separate set of expectations possibly, just as one example, versus the honors or English students. So I just wanted to share where that language came from. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mrs. Anderson?
Just want to make it clear that I'd like to make sure that that when you're developing these, the time frame for this, that you build in the time for the teachers to be able to work together to have these conversations in a timeliness manner, so that they have time. For example, this is not going to go into effect anyway until the school year 17-18, so it's not for this coming school year. But I would think at least by February or March. I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, ahead of time, that this is something that needs to be done and kind of finished by then. So it's the teachers this year, for example, developing grading guidelines for next year. So I know this is unprecedented territory, and we're kind of learning as we're going, but I think it's worth it to give it a try this year, and we'll see how this goes. I know I've had concerns from some teachers who are worried that it's really going to impact time, especially on the secondary level. They're really worried about how certain departments are going to get together, but I think it's worth an effort to try to make it work this year. Let's see how it goes. Thank you for that.
Mrs. McLeod?
Looking at our wheel we went over tonight, our framework, this works perfectly with assessing and responding. That the fact that the departments are going to work together to come up and learn how it's going to be more equitable. I think that it's a great, important part of it. And we're listening to the public, because the public said very clearly they wanted consistency. And it's something at the summer retreat of 2015, we said as a board we wanted. Now, this is happening within each department, within each school, but that is a great start. And I think the other positive may be that as they start putting these together, they might be practicing a little bit of it this year to decide what they really want for 2017-18. And so I think it's fitting right in with our framework. So good job.
Mrs. Ryan?
Yes, another common thread with public input was leaving it up to the teachers. So I just so this clearly is a measure that's empowering our teachers. I think it's showing a lot of respect for them and their professional background. And that's why I support, seeing this move forward.
I'm very pleased with where we're headed with this. Hopefully the administration will come up with an efficient way to document conversations at that grade and departmental levels that I think we've come to agree need to take place. And so from a time standpoint, those probably have taken place a little bit, but now we're asking them to do it and ensure it's done. And then again, hopefully efficiently document it, pass it on up. And the biggest pushback I've heard from the public in the last few weeks has been a skepticism on whether or not it's really going to get implemented the way we're talking about. And to that, I say, yeah, we have the same concerns, and that's why we will have Dr. Spence and the board, and we will be getting feedback reports during this full year of implementation, so that we are comfortable with the fact that the teachers are the ones that are initiating what they are talking about at the grade level, and it's rolling up the way the guidelines have been laid out. So I want to thank the administration, the task force, particularly Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Rye, who were on the task force, for getting us where we are now. Anybody else? Mrs. Rye.
I keep thinking of things to mention. I was surprised along the way to find out from principals the extent to which this is already happening. So I think it's important to note that we're really not starting from scratch, that in a number of our high schools to different degrees, we already have departments who've been working together on this.
Thank you, Dr. Bergen. That completes the information agenda. We have any formal reports from our standing committees? Seeing none, we will adjourn the formal meeting. And yeah, we will adjourn. And do we have a speaker for, is she, right, is she here? Do we know?
Ms.
Right,
Walker,
okay, great.
are you here?
Okay,
Yes.
if you'll wait just a moment while we kind of close out the formal meeting then. Meeting is adjourned. We will remain in our seats for comments, and then after that, we will accept a motion to go into closed session.